Yo, what's good, YouTube, man? It's Gary with another Fan TV, back at another video. Like the content of this video, go smash that like button, like the content of this channel. Go hit subscribe, man. Look, so Ravens Steelers, man, tough loss day for the Ravens. They fall 18-16 to the Steelers. The Steelers really take full control of the AFC North now. Ravens fall to 7-4. Steelers are 8-2. That's a full game and a half lead on the Ravens, right? That's Steelers' first official game of the year. That's the Ravens' fourth. Ravens are 2-2. They got the Steelers at home, and they got the Browns at home, right, for their last two division games. Okay, so this was a big game today, right, and the Ravens fell short of it. All right, we can talk about it. Obviously, we're going to get into all of that. But you know, this Ravens team showed that when it comes to big moments, that they're still having trouble being trusted in those kind of games, right? All right. You know, I like to give it the setup performance, right? You know, it's not going to be long because the game doesn't warrant going super long setup performance, right? But first guy, Odafe, right? 2.5 sacks, 4 QB hits. He was all over the place today. Okay. Now, when it came to pushing the pocket, keeping Russell Wilson compressed, right? He really only escaped one or two times. All right. Odafe did a great job of that. Right now, this is back-to-back weeks. Right. We got to remember the Bengals game. He played a really, really good game versus the Bengals as well. You know, Matabike got a lot of that credit because Matabike had 3 sacks. Right. But Odafe did his thing in that game as well. All right. So Odafe is a guy that's stacking up games, and the Ravens need him to do that. Ravens need somebody who can win dominantly on the edge. And Odafe can be that guy. That's great, right? We've been waiting for that. He needs consistency in his game, right? He's a really, really good player. We just need to see consistency, right? We'll have 3 games where he shows up, 3 games disappeared. The next 3 games, he's back again. We need him all 17 games, right? So Odafe, that's one. Okay, number 2, Marlon Humphrey. Marlon Humphrey, right? He caught an interception today, big play in the game, right? You know, in the game where the Ravens offense is struggling, Marlon Humphrey got him the ball back, okay? Marlon Humphrey, to me, a lot of people talk about him being a podcaster, being this and being that. He's the definition of what a Raven is. I don't care about the podcaster stuff. You could think he's a corny, whatever, off the field. When it comes to being on the field, Marlon Humphrey is what a Raven is. He could play for any era of the Baltimore Ravens, right? With Ray Lewis and Ed Reed and all of them. He could play with any era. Because when I watched this game out there, when the Steelers tried to punk the Ravens several times, who was in there? Marlon Humphrey. I don't mind the penalties. It was offset in any way. It didn't cost Ravens any yardage, right? But no, we're not going to allow that. This is what Steelers Ravens is. It means something. All right. You got to get physical. You got to get dirty out there, right? Not a dirty play, but you get what I'm saying. You got to get your hands dirty, right? So for Marlon Humphrey, I don't want to hear about the podcast, nothing like that. He has earned the right to do what he wants because on the field is not affecting his play. Where Marlon Humphrey has been healthy, he's been one of the better Ravens defenders, point blank, period. There's no discussion about it. All right. So Marlon Humphrey, stand-up performer, and I'm going to leave it at that, right? Those are 2, Odafe, Marlon Humphrey. Now, Roquan had 13 tackles today or something like that. You know, good game for him. Had his first TFL since week 1, which is a crazy stat to hear, but that happened today. So now, as far as injuries go, Travis Jones, ankle injury, you know, that's been on him the last couple of weeks. Kyle Hamilton, like, he had multiple injuries, ankle, shoulder. He got checked for concussion, came back. Kyle Hamilton's going through it, right? The Ravens need to sit him down for a week, if I'm being honest. Sanusi Kane got injured on special teams, and Roquan, like I said, with the hamstring injury, he got hurt. I think that was 3rd quarter, 4th quarter, and didn't come back, right? He was out for that. So we'll see what happens with Roquan with that, okay? Now, as far as what I talked about in this video, or I titled the video, I should say, right? The Ravens still cannot be trusted in these big kind of games, right? Now, listen, the Ravens beat a lot of good teams, right? They do. So I'm not going to say this as Ravens always lose to good teams. No, Ravens, that's the quite opposite. Ravens beat a lot of good teams, right? But it's 2 teams that in particular they struggle with, right? The Steelers and the Chiefs. And that's because the Steelers have Mike Tomlin and the Chiefs have Andy Reid. The Ravens, when they go up against these 2 teams, are severely outcoached every single time, right? When it comes to discipline, when it comes to doing the right things, when it comes to technique, every single time the Ravens go up against these 2 teams, you see who the better coach is, right? Why do I say that? One, the Ravens came into this game number 1 in the league in most penalized, right? Okay. All right. Today, they did nothing to absolve themselves of that. 12 penalties for 80 yards. 12 penalties for 80 yards today. So every time, not every time, but let's see, a lot of times Ravens get momentum, legal man downfield, holding, this and that, right? The Ravens are an extremely undisciplined football team. We have to call it like it is, right? The offense has done a great job of covering up some of those cracks and all that stuff. But when it comes down to it, the undisciplined football team. When we talk about that is you gotta look at the head coach, right? That's what happens. All right. I'm not here to say every single loss is John Harbaugh's fault. It's not. Right. John Harbaugh didn't make Zay drop the pass to hit him in the chest, stuff like that. He didn't do that. But when it comes to things like discipline, situational awareness, right? The Ravens lacking that constantly. Okay. And when they go up against teams that have great head coaches, right? It's only a couple head coaches, right, that have that kind of pedigree that don't want to severely outcoach the Ravens every time. It's the Chiefs and the Steelers, right? Every other team, the Ravens can do enough because they have more talent. It's enough to get by. They don't have to worry about that. But in this particular game, versus the Chiefs, versus the Steelers, especially the Steelers in Pittsburgh, they shoot themselves in the foot constantly. And that's what it is, right? The Steelers have beaten the Ravens 8 out of the last 9 times, right? So 9 games, the Steelers are 8-1 versus the Ravens. That's unacceptable, right? It's unacceptable. So let's talk about the game, okay? So the Ravens start off offense pretty cold this game. Derrick Henry fumbles on, what was that game? Maybe a second carry of the game, second or third carry of the game. He's stripped by Nick Herbig. Patrick Queen picks it up. All right. The Ravens defense today was pretty good. All right. They limited the Steelers to 6 field goals, right? Every time they got down in close, they locked it up. And honestly, with how they played today, it showed me that there is some hope for this defense, right? I will say that. But also, it's kind of what we said in the preview, right? This Steelers offense isn't that impressive, right? They're running the ball somewhere. Najee Harris, he got loose a little bit. Jalen Warren got a couple of good runs as well. But I'm not overly impressed with what Russell Wilson does as far as the Steelers offense. I'm not, okay? He made some good throws down the seam to Darnell Washington a couple times, right? Some nice throws there, but the 50-50 balls just wasn't there like that. So when the 50-50 ball isn't there, the Steelers offense is so-so. It's just what it is, right? He connected on one deep one to George Pickens, and we'll talk about that, right? So the Ravens defense played well to start off, right? This Ravens offense, I believe that, and I say this in every big game because I believe it to be the truth, right? They get too shotgun happy, right? The Ravens really didn't abandon the game plan. They ran the ball, I would say, a fair amount of times. So let me look, make sure I'm not tripping. I mean, Derrick Henry only got 13 carries, so I guess they could have ran the ball more, right? 13 carries, 65 yards, longer 31. So we're really talking about 12 carries for 34 yards besides that. So they could have ran the ball some more, right? But I didn't feel like they got completely out of their game plan, right? But I would like to see them do some more under center play action and run the offense through that, right? Why? Because one, Derrick Henry is comfortable running the ball under center, right? We know that. That's what his preferred method. 2, the play action game for the Ravens has really been the best part of their offense this season, right? Lamar Jackson is great. Obviously, he's the captain. He's the engine of that, right? But that play action under center has been a large driving factor in what the Ravens do well, all right? And too many times in these big games, they go away from that, okay? So it helps the offensive line too as well. So that's just my opinion, right? Too much shotgun base, even if you want to do some more stuff out of pistol, so where you can still have that run element to it, right? When the Ravens go straight shotgun, it's predictable which way you're going to run the ball, stuff like that. Yes, the read option is still a possibility, but the Ravens aren't doing that as much, right? Lamar Jackson kept it a couple of times, but not enough to really for the defense to key in on that, right? I would say this. Going forward, playing the Steelers, Lamar Jackson needs to treat it how he treated that Chiefs game week 1, right? He needs to run at every opportunity, all right? I know that he's improved so much as a passer over the last couple of years, right? He improves every single season, right? But when we watched him play the Chiefs week 1, there was a desperation there, right? Okay, cool. 1, 2, I'm out of there. Today, it was kind of too much around the pocket, making stuff happen. And listen, some of these plays, they ended up working out. Some of them didn't. But I think that the Ravens are better off with Lamar Jackson getting, 4 or 5 yards at a time than trying to hold the ball for 7, 8, 9 seconds, trying to find somebody down the field. Lamar, go ahead, take that 4 to 7 yards. Let's have a positive play, right? Sometimes it can even be even more than that, right? The Ravens in this game too many times got in third and long situations, and that's hard, right? But that's even harder when you go against a team like Pittsburgh, who's a really good defense, okay? So I thought that was disappointing. All right, the end of the half, end of the first half. Okay. I don't mind the Ravens trying to score there, right? Get some opportunities. Isaiah Likely is too loose with the football. I thought Isaiah Likely had a good game up to that point, right? I think he ended up with 4 catches, 75 yards, stuff like that. But he's too loose with the football, right? You got to do a better job of that. And then we got to talk about it, right? The Justin Tucker thing is a real thing now, all right? I'm done blaming the holder, okay? If Jordan Stout is the problem why Justin Tucker can't make field goals, then Jordan Stout needs to be off of that duty. He needs to punt only. There are plenty of teams that when I was growing up, you know who used to hold the ball? The backup quarterback, right? So get Josh Johnson out there and teach him how to hold the ball. I'm sure he's done it plenty of times in other stops, right? It wasn't always the kicker, the punter, the long snapper, right? It used to be the kicker, the long snapper, and the backup quarterback, right? I remember seeing this. Okay, so if Jordan Stout is the issue, you get him out of there. To me, I don't think it's Jordan Stout. All right, Justin Tucker, he could just be having one of those years. It's like a really, really bad season, or we could be seeing the decline of a legendary player. Either way, the Ravens have to do something to alleviate the situation, right? If they believe that the hold can be changed, give it a try and see what happens, right? But anyway, now as far as the defense goes, okay, like I said, defense did pretty good today. But the thing I want to say to this is that Brandon Stevens, all right, a couple missed tackles on George Pickens, and then the deep ball over the sideline, he had 2 of them come at him, right? Calvin Austin, he gets his head around, it's an interception. It just is, right? But he ends up breaking the ball up. Cool. George Pickens, same thing, right? If a receiver's running in a straight line, you're 20 yards down the field. I get George Pickens did late hands, beautiful technique, great. But if a receiver's running 20 yards straight downfield, there ain't too many 20-yard, 25-yard comebacks. There ain't too many 20, 25-yard curl routes. Hey, listen, he's probably just running a go route. Get your head around and see where the football is. But because he doesn't, George Pickens big play down the sideline, right? All right. I saw Tre'Davious White on the last possession of the game for the Steelers. Well, before they ran the ball out, ran the clock out. They put him one-on-one with George Pickens. Tre'Davious White gets his head around. He's looking at the ball and fighting George Pickens at the same time. He could have caught a pick. He didn't. It's okay. Ends up getting a pass breakup. That, for me, was enough right there. Give Tre'Davious White Brandon Stevens snaps and let's see what happens. Because at least he's a cornerback that's going to at least see the football, right? He didn't catch the pick, but at least he's putting eyes on it, all right? For this Ravens team, when it comes down to it in these big kind of games, right, versus a Mike Tomlin versus Andy Reid, these teams aren't going to beat themselves. They aren't going to make mistakes. They aren't going to have a bunch of unnecessary penalties, right? The Ravens lack discipline in all of these kind of games, right? Lamar Jackson, once again, could have played better. I thought he sailed some passes. He was jittery in the pocket. The offensive line was okay. It wasn't great today, all right? So this team as a whole, when it comes down to it, they still cannot be trusted to win these kind of games, right? They can't be, right? So for the Ravens, this puts a cap on their ceiling for this season, right? Ravens have an impossibly historic offense, right? The defense could end up being just good enough. But until they get over the mentality of when we play these kind of games that we're going to lose, it's going to be hard, right? Tell me today didn't feel like a playoff game when we watched it, right? Mistake after mistake after mistake. And then look, the Ravens finally get it together, but it's far too late, right? A lot of people want to talk about, oh, why was the Derrick Henry in the game for a 2-point conversion? I understand that, right? He could have been in there, right? You at least give the threat of Derrick Henry getting the football. So I get that. But it also goes to my opinion of, Derrick Henry isn't an every down back, right? That's only 1 down, 2-point conversion, but still, it's the same thing to me. He isn't an every down back, right? So it kind of limits sometimes his effectiveness, all right? It just does, all right? But for the Ravens, I'm tired of them losing the exact same way every single time, right? To whether it's Mike Tomlin or, the Chiefs, whatever, right? Mike Tomlin and the Steelers are more disciplined. They're better coached. They're a team that, I'm going to repeat myself again, they don't beat themselves, right? They allow you to beat them, right? They say, hey, look, if you're going to win this game, you got to be disciplined and you got to be a better team than us, right? You can't just be one or the other, right? So for the Ravens, I believe the Ravens are a better team, but they're not a more disciplined team. They're not a more fundamentally sound team. They're just not. So they lost this game, right? And you can see it coming, right? You know, when the Ravens get to Pittsburgh, especially these last couple of years, it's just been weird. It's been strange, right? It's the only team that can make Lamar Jackson look ordinary, right? It's the only team that does it, right? You know, last year he overcame it, but then his pass catchers let him down, dropping several passes, right? So, you know, you can't get both. It's a very, very strange and weird phenomenon, right? But that's where we land at, okay? Until the Ravens are more disciplined, more sound in these big time games, they're going to continue to fall short. And that's my thoughts on it. So, you obviously give me your thoughts on the game, but, you know, I'll reply to all comments. It's Gabriel, to the Fan TV. I'm out.